Hello everyone, I am CoolGuy, and today let's talk about no RNG on weapons and gear. So in Destiny 2, the beta is tomorrow, and we are soon going to get our hands on the game, a feel for it. And you might watch this video later than that, but the conversation continues, it's controversial. And one of the best feelings in Destiny is getting that one roll on a weapon, whether it's a scout rifle that's full auto, outlaw firefly, or an ice luna with rifled barrel, hidden hand, rangefinder. We're constantly searching for these weapons, and in Destiny 2, weapons are going to have locked perks. What a weapon has is all that a weapon has. So in this video, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit, discuss it freely, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on how I think that this might play out. And again, I don't know anything, it's kind of speculation, it's theory. But one thing to remember is that this is happening. Whether we want it or not, it's a brand new game with a new vision. Every stat and perk on gear in Destiny 2 is handcrafted, so think about that for a second. Every piece of armor, every weapon is handcrafted, different from one another, and for me, that's a big thing. Even, let's say, Destiny 1, before the game came out, if they did a vid doc going on by saying that there's hundreds of weapons in Destiny, they're all handcrafted, they're all different from one another, I think that would be very exciting. So sit back for a second, forget everything you know about Destiny, how would that sound to you? Because that's where we are. There are numerous weapons that are their own, and we get to go out and we get to find them. And something that's been in Destiny for a long time, since day one, has been eliminated, but the question is why? Well, the chase for the god roll is over. Or, in a sense, I should say, the chance for a god roll can mean something entirely different now. So the fear in Destiny 2 is that since weapons aren't RNG, it takes away that grind. It takes away that feeling of getting that weapon that you've been wanting so bad with the perfect roll. And I'm going to be honest, it is one of the best feelings in Destiny, but that feeling is kind of skewed, in my opinion. I mean, I want an Ice Luna with hidden hand, rifled barrel, and rangefinder. That's the roll that I'm looking for. And I have various versions of the Ice Luna that are perfectly fine. We have rapid reload, rifled barrel, rangefinder, rifled barrel, luck in the chamber. I have a lot of them. But there are many ways a weapon can roll, we know that. They can also roll very badly. The Ice Luna is a PvP weapon, and sure, it's probably used in PvE, there are hundreds of thousands of players after all, but it's mostly going to be used in PvP. And when it comes down to it, these perfect weapons are sought after, like the hidden hand, rifled barrel, rangefinder, Ice Luna. The core of the weapon is good, but the perks are actually what's sought after. Because I recently started a PS4 account and I have no weapons, it's very hard to compete without a proper loadout. I have to wait for RNG to give me a decent Ice Luna. And even when I was at Guardian Con, and you watch higher level scrimmage matches with some of the best players in Destiny, some of them have to recover accounts because the accounts that they have just don't have it. And they'll get people that have the hidden hand, rifled barrel, rangefinder, Ice Lunas because RNG was nicer to that other person. So just to compete in the match, they have to recover accounts. I'm not a fan of that, not at all. And PvE is slightly different. The original Hung Jury is still, to me, one of the best pound for pound weapons in Destiny's history. No matter what activity I am in, even PvP, it's really good. We'll talk about the Hung Jury in a second. But with the Ice Luna, it's just one example, though. It seems that a weapon can roll almost an infinite amount of ways. Once you've got that coveted roll, though, like the hidden hand, rifled barrel, Ice Luna, the journey kind of ends. You're set, there's no other need to grind for it. You don't need to wait for RNG to give it to you. And that's an entirely different feeling, and that's what I want to kind of get into. You play and play and play for that one weapon, then you have it. And I'm sure some of you guys out there know what that feeling's like, so what now? In Destiny 2, let's say the rifled barrel, hidden hand, rangefinder, Ice Luna is obtained in a dungeon or from a treasure map. A series of steps needs to be taken in the story to get this Ice Luna or the Crucible or a bounty. Say it takes 30 minutes, you get a little story out of it, you get into a boss battle, and at the end you have this god rolled Ice Luna. I look at that as a pro of the new system, and hopefully, again, there are hundreds of guns in Destiny 2, but that specific example, instead of getting incredibly lucky with a roll, you know what players went through to actually get the weapon, if that makes sense. And some weapons are going to be in-screen rewards in Destiny 2, tons of them probably, we know that, but there's also going to be, again, the treasure maps and the dungeons in Destiny 2. So rewards, missions, all the fun stuff, bounties. For some weapons, let's take the Outbreak Prime in Destiny 1. You know exactly what a player went through to get that. That's a grind in itself. So in theory, let's say a very meta Crucible hand cannon came from one of these dungeons or treasure maps. I don't see an issue with that at all. And if you don't have it, you would see that hand cannon being used, you would ask the question, where did he get that? How can I get that? But that's the beautiful thing, I believe. RNG has shifted to more of a controlled RNG. You want a weapon, you find out where it's at, you go and get it, end of story. Then you don't really feel like you're a disadvantage in the Crucible, and you don't have to bite your tongue at the end reward screen seeing that Ice Luna was surrounded on it, things like that. But I want to stop for a second and say this. For this system to truly work, there has to be hundreds of weapons in the game. I mean, hundreds. Not only that, these weapons have to find use. The majority of them need to find use. No more in times of need shotguns with exhumed and no range. Because I've always looked at weapons as tools. Different perks on them are used as tools. I feel that for the new system to work, they should kind of be looked at that way. Specific things for specific situations. And some weapons in Destiny have stood the test of time. Again, the old hung jury is a great example. In reality, that's still a go-to PvE weapon for me in any activity. There's no real need for me to use anything else. But if that hung jury in Destiny 2 was again a quest or a series of events, that you need to do to obtain it, then I think that's just as good. And hear me out on that. And I think that this is the root of what needs to happen, and I think that this is the major reason why the new system is being implemented, because time on Destiny needs to be meaningful, and the hope is to limit artificial playtime with actual playtime. So hopefully the game is so expansive with a lot of nooks and crannies that our time is actually filled up with those. And if the game shows that if you put time into it, doing missions, quests, nightfalls, trials, and it gives you a very good, specific, handcrafted reward for these activities, that's the goal, that's the dream. No extending playtime artificially, and when you do, it should be for an actual reward, not just an endless dance with RNG to get a version of it, because I want the weapon, not a bad variance of it. And some weapons, almost, it seems like they're deliberately bad, with bad perk sets on them, meaning you have to grind and grind and grind even to get a semi-useful one. I would much rather have hundreds of individualized weapons that have their own story than that. I mean, as far as grinding goes, let me give you an example of extending playtime by grinding that's a form of grinding that I enjoy. We had something similar in Vanilla Destiny, and I like for it to come back. We all know what's good on an Imago loop. Now, the perfect Imago loop, in my opinion, is the Firefly Rifle Barrel Outlaw, the Fake Bringer. So let's say in Destiny 2, that was the reward for Undying Mind. Not a chance at it, not getting an Imago loop with spray and play perfect balance third eye. You have to try over and over and over again. I would much rather have that Imago loop, the Fake Bringer roll, be the one, knowing that when I see it pop up on my screen, I have it. I would grind that strike for hours knowing that that gun can come to me as a guaranteed reward, not just a chance at it. And you might be thinking, well, how's that different from now? So here's the scenario, and here's how you need to look at it. When other people see me, they know, hey, he grinded the ever-living life out of the Undying Mind. I can go do that, meaning I have the option to go grind for something that I actually want. You can choose to go grind the Undying Mind for that weapon. Not, hey, that one time I got lucky, praise RNG Jesus. Because I don't mind doing the same strike over and over just for that Fake Bringer roll, let's say, in theory, was the reward. Even knowing that's a very small drop chance, a small percentage of getting it, I would grind it for hours, and others might not, but that Imago loop is and would be great for PvE and PvP, and that's the real difference, because I would love for something like that to be in Destiny 2, I really would. The Strike boss would have various rewards like they do now, but there's that one thing, and I think that's how Destiny 2 is going to play out. The main difference is that set reward, because realistically, again, it's kind of the same thing as we have now, but the difference is wasting time versus wasting time with a guaranteed reward. You know that the Undying Mind drop, what it has, is that Fake Bringer, you know it's going to come to you, instead of just wasting time with RNG. And you can actually choose if you want to get that Imago loop or not, knowing that that's the end reward. And real quick, I see an issue, let's talk about it. Let's say for PvP, that crowd control is the perk on a hand cannon, right, in theory. So what will happen, we'll have data mining, guides by myself and other content creators. They're gonna come up and say, hey, there are 5 hand cannons with crowd control in this game. No other guns matter, you need to grind for these. People would get these hand cannons, and then that's that. No other perks, let's say, would kind of measure up to them. And at some point, probably, it's how things have gone, crowd control is going to get nerfed, and the cycle begins over and over and over again. Because when you have set perks, certain perks are always going to stand out. Of course they will. And once perks are found to be meta, the guns on them, or the perks on the guns, they will be meta. So they need to pay close attention to how these perks are handled. Because we will find the best guns, and we will use the best things possible in the game. And when we do, Bungie needs to have an answer for it. Fine-tuning is one thing, but they also need to have incentive to using other things. Let's say something that's not as good but has a little bit more ammunition in the reserve, or a larger magazine, even though it's not quite the crowd control hand cannon. Like I said, hopefully they need to view them as tools. Because I think that the grind is going to shift. A lot of players are upset that loadouts won't feel complete, that everything's going to be generic, and it certainly could play out that way, but it depends on how Bungie does this game. Like I said, for it to work, there needs to be numerous options. The grind, in theory, and what I'm hoping for, it will shift from pointless RNG to controlled RNG, if that makes any sense, using the Imago loop example from earlier as the prime example. And they've worked on this game for a long time. I'm sure they have all the answers with all the mechanics to build loadouts kits. I think that we're going to be just fine, but it depends on how expansive the game really is and how they focus our time in the game. If they give us countless reasons to play, then we're going to play it, meaning grinding for those handcrafted weapons and gear. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed it. Until the next one, I am CoolGuy.